Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining our CX Disruptor episode. My name is Jessica Gopal-Christian. I'm Senior Director of Marketing at Cognigy. We have two very special guests with us today. We have Oliver Moss, who's Senior Program Manager of Chatbot and OCS Technologies at Bosch Rexroth. And we have Özge Karadag, who's Data Analyst and AIoT Corporate Influencer at Bosch Rexroth. Bosch Rexroth is one of the leading specialists in driving control technologies with over 31,000 employees and annual revenue of 6.2 billion euros. Today, they are going to walk us through their Chat at DC program. The goal of this program is to enable Bosch Rexroth countries globally to develop their own chatbot. So welcome to you both. Thank you so much for being our guest today. I'm just going to hand it right over to you.
Thank you for your introduction. We want to introduce you our Chatbot at DC program today, which is based on 5 main pillars. First question is, of course, what is it all about? In short, the Chatbot at DC is a program to enable Bosch Rexroth countries to develop chatbots globally. And this is a special challenge in a company that's globally present in more than 40 countries. And in the very beginning, that's why we started with a decision to decentralize the activities and enable the countries to develop their chatbots locally and where they are needed. So I want to start with a quick overview of the program, and then we spend some more time for the description of those pillars later in the talk. A decentralized approach means to hand over a lot of responsibilities and activities to the countries. And that's why we set up a qualification system for different target groups. Next, we offer a web-based lifecycle process with 2 focus topics. One is to provide the necessary guidance to new users when use case ideas are introduced here as a new demand. And the second is, of course, to cover legal topics. The third pillar is, especially in the beginning, countries will not provide or train their own development resources, since first chatbots are very often developed as a proof of concept. And that's why development resources will be provided from our side as a service as well. Furthermore, to enable transparency regarding chatbot usage and performance, we provide a dashboard for KPI management and reporting. And finally, we also need to think ahead and ask ourselves what will happen if we offer too many bots to external customers in a country. How should these be offered and published without the customer losing track of all of them? Our answer is the development of a concierge bot concept as one bot face to the customer. We continue now with 2 short excursions, and afterwards we jump in the detailed explanation of the program. And for the first excursion, I hand over to my colleague Özge.
Thanks, Oliver. So now we are gonna explain how we all started this journey. So it all began in 2018, where we started developing Life Assist. Life Assist is a channel selector that offers country-specific communication channels. It's mainly chat, but also like contact forms, phones, or email addresses. Since a chatbot can be seen as a virtual chat agent, the logical consequence was to continue with the development of a first chatbot to support the so-called chat agents. So a year later, in 2019, we started developing our first chatbot named Atlas. And this is an FAQ bot designed to relieve in USA chat agents of simply frequently asked questions. After go live with Atlas, we saw the actual relief was even above the expected relief. So we launched the Chatbots at DC program at the beginning of 2021. We now have 16 bots in development, and 9 of them had already gone live. And in this journey, our partner was Cognigy.
Okay. Then we continue with the second excursion, where I want to talk a bit about interfaces. Concerning the interfaces, there are 2 important questions for us. Where and how is a chatbot acting on the user interface? and where and how is a chatbot getting its data from. I want to give you here a short introduction to front-end, the database backend interfaces. And suppose a country develops a number of bots addressed to external customers. Now, those bots then need starting points, but where can we publish them? The website, which is of course the first idea. Now, since we are not the website owners, we run very quickly out of space here. Alternative could be we can integrate a couple of those bots in the online chat, but only depending on the content and where it makes sense. So the solution to this problem is, from our perspective, to collect chatbots that are addressed to external customers in a bot network with one interface chatbot on top of this network. This top-level bot is then called Concierge bot. Now, let's jump to the opposite end and talk a bit about database backend integrations. And we start here with a cognitive platform, of course, which holds the business logic and example questions, and also standardized answers. So in our approach, this is used mainly for local bots. But what is if one of those former local bots is interesting for a global rollout? Here we use a chatbots etc database, which is needed for country-specific content localization. So it's the same intent, but it holds different country-specific answers. Finally, we have integrations to databases and cloud databases in general with access via API calls, for example, for ERP systems, our CRM system, PIM systems, and so on. And the background here is we use Cognigy not only for developing conversational chatbots, but also as a tool for data retrieving out of inventory databases.
So then we can also clarify another topic, which is how was the qualification and certification process here in this whole journey. So in order to create the qualification program, we first defined the target groups and then tailored the qualification program to these target groups. So as you can see in this pyramid, the white belt. This is more for the general public, for all employees, and we give here an easy to understand introduction to the topic of chatbots. So we offered via BoschTube. BoschTube is an internal Bosch YouTube as a video. So this explains in a very simple way what a chatbot is, how it differs from the other bots, and what it can do, and show a few examples about it. Then on the yellow belt, we are addressing more to the management, is more extensive qualification for the key users in the countries that are actual bot owners. So here there is more detailed knowledge about the chatbots, their use, the function, and mode of operation is important here, and especially a detailed understanding of the use case, where and how to find them. And on the very top of our pyramid, we have the green belt. And green belt addresses to the creation of a first simple, for example, like an FAQ bot, but also the adaptation of the existing bots, such as contents, link, synonym list, or dictionaries.
Okay. Now we talk about the heart or the whole program, which is a tool-based lifecycle process and demand management system, which means it's a standardized entry lane for all new chatbot use cases. In general, all necessary information are stored here in a central place, like, for example, a verbal description, a formal description of the use case, a first indication of scalability, first KPI estimation, and many, many things more. And this can be seen then as a kind of a contract between the use case owner and the development team. But in a global context, it's also important to provide the necessary guidance in how the next steps look like, and when it's necessary to provide which information. And beyond that, we also cover, of course, data and IT security requirements to provide the necessary compliance support.
And then if we have to talk about the requirements for development, here you can see the bullet points. So in the initial situation, when a department develops its first chatbot, we cannot expect a local employee to be trained in chatbot development for this purpose. So often such bots are considered as POC. So therefore, we must provide the development resources for which we have contracted for a development partner within the group. So brief description of requirements. In a global development, we work in different time zones, so the partner should have distributed scalable resources. He must have the willingness to grow into this topic together with us and also to retain the acquired know-how. It's also important that we have only one contact person who coordinates the development activities internally. So one face to the development team. Last but not least, the job has to be done agilely. We don't want to get bogged down with functional, technical specifications and change requests. So this last topic is even more important in a digital environment and specifically for chatbots, which are published in early stage, which automatically mean upcoming changes. And of course, to track all the performance of the bots and also to analyze the customer behavior, reporting and KPI management is a must to have. And for that, we have created Power BI cloud-based real-time dashboards where we have connection with the respective data sources real-time. And here with this dashboards, we are able to see that users has accepted this 24/7 self-service channel, especially when we see the difference between the just chatbot usage and agent answering to the chats in which time zones, in which time frames it's happening. As you can see in the traffic heat map, chatbots are able to answer in a more broader time scale when we compare with agents. And what we also discovered with our KPI management that we have enabled almost 15% increase in the leads in a particular bot. And the chatbots are taking over the chat conversation and they are saving up to 80% of the capacity of our agents. So these were the outcomes which we came across when we created this data management program.
Okay. Now we talk a bit about the Concierge bot, where we got the motivation already some slides before. It's the one bot interface to the customer. And the Concierge bot is on top of a hierarchical bot network. And there are different conceptual approaches where we decided for one approach where the Concierge bot is kept stupid in that way that it has no own interface intents, and it's therefore not able to decide out of itself which of the associated client bots is best able to answer the customer question. How do we solve it instead? Just simply by using the NLUs from the client bots. The advantage of this approach is the client bot intents can be developed independently of the Concierge bot, which speeds up the overall development for us. So how does it work? The Concierge bot takes over the customer's question and forward it to all associated client bots. We use an external function because of some technical reasons, and that function then also collects the client answers and compares their confidence levels against the threshold to decide which answer is the winning one. And finally, this function returns the result back to the Concierge bot. And in the best case, we have only one winner, with that the Concierge bot then establishes a fixed connection, so that in the next questions are forwarded only to that fixed connected client bot. This is possible since we expect the next question coming out of the same domain area. Basically, that's the way it's working, but of course there are some exceptions that need to be covered. For example, if we have two or more bots that provide an answer to the customer question. And the final remark, every client bot is also developed as a standalone bot and has its own personality. And it was important to us that the Concierge bot is not masking these personalities. That means the customer sees no difference in using the client bot directly or via the concierge bot.
So we actually also wanted to show you a little example of one of our bots that we have released. So this is something that was for our global customers. We renewed the so-called contact locator on the basis of Cognigy web chat interface, which offers Rexroth and partner locations depending on some input settings. We start in this short demo with the list of resulting contacts. The data is extracted from inventory data systems. And there are some special features here that we quickly want to show, which is the Cognigy web interface is customized using an CSS style sheet. And then for the data representation, we use so-called adaptive cards. We can also display all the contacts in Google Maps represented by pins. And because of the bidirectional integration with our result list, you can click either one of the pins to the position and open the respective contact, or vice versa. You select one of the contacts in the list and get the respective pin in the Google Maps highlighted. So this is how our contact locator works.
Excellent. Thank you both so much for sharing your insights with us today. It was great to learn about your program and how you're enabling your teams globally with chatbot development. So it was a pleasure having you on this episode. And thank you to everyone for joining us today. We look forward to having you on the next CX Disruptor episode. Take care.